itself, right?
The reason why I'm saying it, I think it's hereditary because my dad, he drew a while when he was younger, but then it kind of stopped. Same thing with my mom. She just doodles here and there, but my sister's able to draw, whatever comes out of her head.
But we don't really know, even you don't really know what went on between your sister and your parents when your parents were doodling, right? Do you?
That sounds so weird.
Right, no. I didn't say diddling, I said doodling, right? But I mean, you don't know what did she see, what did she think, what did she go along the way. You're kind of concluding that she just had it as a gift when maybe there was some influence. And if everybody in your family draws, it's pretty unlikely that your sisters never...
No, for me, it was like, everyone's just to themselves. Like, no one shows anyone how to do anything. Like, my sister and I draw differently. Like, hers is more, how would you say?
And you draw or you don't draw?
I draw sometimes, but I don't know how many times. So, it's like, so. But she draws, like, more, like, real life, like, still life. And I draw, like, cartoons and, like, stuff like that.
And you think she has a gift, a hereditary gift, and you don't?
No, I think we all do. Like, it's just
you all do.
And I've noticed with my cousins, they can draw too, and I'm just like, whoa.
And why are you, okay, so if that's the case with drawing, let's say, why don't you think that's the case with intelligence? I mean, you know, just look around, right? You can spot people, you can say, hey, you know, that one is, I can talk to. That one, stay away from, you know? I mean, don't you?
Family, you have like the dumb kids, like that one.
Yeah, but actually, you know, maybe there is something to what Galton said. You go, I mean, very often you go into families, and you might have the dummy sitting at the end cleaning the dishes, but you'll see a cluster of people kind of, actually, William James is a case where they had a couple of brothers who didn't fare too well, and the father sent them off to the Civil War, but he had Henry, who was a great novelist, William, who was a great psychologist. There was something about some families. So why do you see intelligence as something you've got to work for and is not a gift in some way? You just see kids, sometimes some just take to it naturally and others have to work for it.
I don't know, because like I see my siblings, like my brother's a genius in that, but we all get it. And I don't know where he gets it from.
Okay, so then why are you somehow saying something like that would be workable and not genetic?
Because my parents aren't good at math.
Well, okay, well what about recessive genes, right? Your parents can have dominant genes, and if there is a math gene, which I don't think there is, but if there is a math gene, it could be recessive. Maybe both of your parents had it, your brother got it, 2 recessive genes makes him smart in math, and they're just carriers, you know, like color blindness. That's possible, right?
I can't think of anyone else who's good at math.
Well, maybe you have a couple relatives out there, they're calculating their fortune when you kick off, and you don't know it yet. Anyway, well, the truth of the matter is, it's kind of an interesting question. And, you know, very often when you have casual conversations about nature and nurture, you get into those situations where you almost sometimes hear people contradict themselves. Like, I think I just heard over there a little bit. Like, it's born in, it's not born in, you got to work for it. And then what is it that's born in, what is it that's not born in? It becomes kind of sloppy. I think later on, maybe next semester when we get into the other parts of the book, they talk a little bit about intelligence testing later. And what intelligence tests have indicated is, in fact, you're kind of wrong, that there does seem to be a case. And that's one of the things where you can't just throw intelligence tests away. Because when you give them the test, now it may not be the case that intelligence tests clearly predict how smart you're going to be in the world and how rich you're going to be. But you can't improve that much on it. You know? If it were all work, the more intelligence tests you take, the better you'd be. Intelligence tests are incredibly reliable. You know, you go up a little, you go down a little, a lot like the SATs. It's very hard to improve on those. The other thing is that when you look at a lot of families, you do find a correlation, a number that suggests that the kid may not be as smart as the parents, but the kid will be closer to the parents' IQ than a kid from another family. So that it seems like IQ scores do cluster. Now, of course, there's a big question about what IQ really is and what it is that we're measuring. But it seems like whatever it is, there is something in it in terms of there being a hereditary component. You know, there's just something that comes with it. On the other hand, though, I think you were a lot closer on target. the way people nowadays think about heredity is that what it provides is a range. You know, it gives you like your potential. Now, whether or not you're going to be a great artist or a great mathematician or a great chess player is going to be a matter of you first having that potential and then being in an environment that nurtures that potential. If you don't have it, if you look on a map of children, child prodigies in chess, right? If that were just purely heredity, it would be distributed evenly or proportionally through the country. If you look at them, what you see is a lot on the West Coast, a lot on the East Coast, not a lot in the middle. What's the matter? Is it the corn that's making them not be good at chess? Or is it the fact that most of the chess clubs are on the East and the West Coast? So if you have a kid who has some potential, and you're out there in Kansas, and you're picking corn and not playing chess, and you're not going to take the kid, there's no chess club around, that kid is going to wander around and be a fun corn picker who may never even know the game chess, even though he has within him some potential to do really well at it. If you're in a situation where the parent plays chess, maybe not well, but plays okay, that'll kind of spark the kid on. And did anybody see Searching for Bobby Fischer? It was kind of that story. The father liked chess, but the kid was great at chess. The kid is like up in the tub playing the father who's in the living room, and he's yelling down the chess moves, and the kid is playing it just entirely in his head. And the father, part of the story of that movie, was that kind of the father got wrapped up in how much potential his son had. Same is true with musical prodigies. You don't think you have a kid pop out at 6 months to play the violin, right? I mean, look at what Suzuki schools do. They practically train the parents with the kids. It takes a lot of work to have a child prodigy in music. True, the kid probably has some special potential that differs from what other kids have, right? I can't even whistle a tune, and some people are much more musical genetically, but if it's not nurtured and pulled out, you'll be somebody who's working on the railroad, singing very beautifully, but nobody will notice. So this idea in genetics nowadays is much more popular, that the genetic endowment gives you a range of possible behaviors, and that within that range, the environment can have a differential effect. So you can have the environment affecting intelligence, but there are usually some limits. It's very hard to kind of get outside of your box with regard to some of these activities. And IQ happens to be one. I mean, it's not, a lot of psychologists don't like IQ testing. I don't, in particular. But you can't just throw it away. You can't deny it. If you have 1,000 kids, and they're coming into your school, and you want to know how well they're going to do, you can go around and meet everyone and talk to them. You can talk to their parents. Or you can say, give me their names with an IQ score next to it, and I'll come back in 2 years, and I'll bet I'll be able to pick the kids that are doing best in school. IQ scores are a great predictor for school performance. And you can't just throw that away. It seems like it's tapping into something. So it's a complicated affair. It really is. It's not easy. I kind of tricked you by putting it, saying, like, who are you for heredity, who's for environment? It's really a little bit of both. And the real trick is to explain how they interact, not just to say that they interact, but to explain how they interact. Anyway, this summer I'm going to teach a course in cognition, and we're reading a book. So I'm going to be reading it. I don't know if the students do it. But called Intelligence and Where to Get It. And it actually is a new book that talks about the way in which the environment can have an impact on intelligence scores. Because for so long, intelligence has been a matter of, or people have approached it as a matter of heredity. And things are changing a little bit now. Okay? All right. Where's my watch? Oh, damn. I hate when I forget my watch.
7:03.
7:03? Oh, good. Okay. Before you leave, William James, the other guy who comes in the picture. Now, James, for me, is a much more appealing character. I mean, I kind of had to tell you a little bit about Galton because it would be unfair if I didn't. But James is a much more appealing character. Read the chapter more thoroughly. We'll be on the last exam. You know, you can kind of cherry pick for Galton because I don't like it. But James, read the chapter. You'll hear it's kind of amusing. Biographically, he's an interesting guy. He does come from a privileged background. His grandfather was really rich, and because he got involved with building a canal.